Welcome to Brave with Lisa YouTube channel. My name is Lisa Bruton and my goal is to inspire you to live bravely in that unique rhythm of grace that God has designed just for you. On this channel, we are going to be hearing from amazing people from all different walks of life who are bravely walking in that unique rhythm of grace and calling that God has designed just for them. I know that as we hear their stories, we are going to learn a lot. We're going to find keys that are going to help us to also walk bravely in that unique rhythm of grace and that unique calling that God has just for you and for me. I'm so glad you're welcome to Brave with Lisa YouTube channel. My name's Lisa Bruton and today I have my beautiful friend Lauren Kevu.
Hello.
Lauren is doing amazing things outside, just really outside the box and taking some courageous and brave steps with her husband and her family and just what they're doing. So I know we're going to be inspired by her today. So welcome, Lauren.
Well, hello. Nice to see you, Lisa.
It's always a treat to see you, Lauren. Lauren, can you share with us, what's going on in your world, what you're passionate about, and all of that?
Well, what's going on in our world? I am a mum of 3 boisterous boys, soccer lovers. Even the littlest one, who's 18 months, has caught the soccer bug. So soccer is a big part of our life, whether we like it or not. And married to a wonderful husband, Adam, who is from the Solomon Islands. So a great storyteller and great man of God that I got to marry. So and then in what we're doing with our life, we're really excited. We started a not-for-profit and a business a year and a half ago called Zoe, and so we have 2 arms of that. We've got Zoe Global Ministries and then Zoe Allied Health, because I'm a speech pathologist by trade and also have a heart for mission. So we're finally in a place about a year and a half ago where we really felt the God called to step out into that and get, the vision got a bit much more refined than it had in the last 10 years, and we finally have stepped out, and it's really cool to see what God's doing with both of those things.
I love how you've actually got both passions and both, you've got your skills and your talents and your passion, and it's really come together in such an amazing way. Lauren, can you tell us the story behind it?
I'd love to. So Adam and I met I think 13 years ago or similar to that, and he was a missionary. So he was with YWAM, and I went through uni and I'd worked jobs and was, living in Australia and very happy and everything. But when I met Adam, I felt like my life made sense. That's the only way I can explain it. My resume looked a bit like Chook Scratch. It was like I was never really content, and just it looked like I was searching. And I got saved at uni as a young adult, straight from the nightclub into church, and life transformed and was never the same. And but I still had this, what am I called to do, God? And I hadn't really seen it outworked yet. And so when I met Adam, I felt, I had that feeling like, oh, yes, because we'd traveled as a family growing up. We'd been to the States and, and Mexico, Fiji, all these different places. But my favorite day of this long trip we had to the States was the day that we had in Tijuana. And then as a young adult, I went to India, and those 2 places just changed my life. And whereas those areas weren't necessarily the favorite part of everybody else's trip. And so I started to realize, and as I meeting Adam and hearing his stories, I started to realize, I've got this cross-cultural love and passion. And but he was finishing from the mission field. He was done. He was like, no, God's called me to work at church and all this. And okay. And so we kind of just journeyed on, and we got married, and we were just sort of figuring this thing out, and he got a job at a church, and then we got the opportunity to actually move to Africa and work with a church there. So it was like, this ticks all the boxes, and but then the visas just never came through, and the team we were going with went really well, and it became a great success, and but we weren't there, and so it was like, God, what happened? And at that point for me, that's when I really had to grieve that. That's when I had to let the dream die. It was like this yearning that I always had to go and to do something in Africa and everything. I really had to give that back to God, and I felt like I didn't see or have a dream or a vision or anything then for a good 2 years. It really was like, all right, God, I'm just giving this back to you, and I don't know what our future looks like, and just learning to trust again and do each day and find contentment in what that looked like, and in being here in Australia, and that's okay. Which sounds really selfish and everything, so privileged, but then yeah, so we kept working for church, we kept doing that, we were loving what we were doing, but there was always just this inkling, like, there's something, God, there's something you've put us here on the earth to do, and just don't feel like we're doing that yet. And then COVID happened, and lockdown happened, and we had suddenly 6 weeks of together time to reflect on everything, and pray and seek God, and God just led us on this journey of just visions and dreams just started sparking again, and obviously lots of conversation through that, and we just woke up one day, and it was like God just dropped this into our soul, and about this idea of being here but impacting internationally and supporting in partnership with local communities. We realized that we are it is amazing to be able to grow our family here. We've always wanted to live on the coast. We'd hope to retire here one day. And our boys were flourishing in a great school, and all of those things. And so it was like God was just refining the vision over these last 10 years, and we finally saw it, and we're finally in a position to, I guess, have the boldness to step out and do something about it. And so, I just woke up this one day, and I had this picture, and I just knew it was me standing in a rural place somewhere, and this truck went past, and I just knew that's our truck, and it's carrying, I don't know, grain or something. It's carrying something to a community that it's meant to be going to, and I asked God, yeah, but what are we calling this thing? Like Kevu Ministries? Like, that doesn't sound very good. And then this name Zoe came up, and that's got its own history, because Zoe was actually the name of we didn't know our firstborn. He's now 9, and we didn't know what we were having, so we had the boy and the girl's names chosen, and we'd always had Zoe as the girl's name. But he's 9 now, and years were ticking along, and then the whole no Africa thing happened, and we were like, are we having this third child or not? Like, this name Zoe just keeps ringing in my head. It must mean that we're meant to have a third child. And so we did. We had, we got pregnant, and halfway through I'm like, we've got to find out, because I'm so like, this must be a girl, because I've got this name Zoe. We found out it's a boy, which I was actually secretly happy about, because I always wanted a tribe of boys, and I don't know, I don't know. And I'm a soccer mum, that's my thing. and so when we had a boy, and so we're suddenly searching for names that mean basically life and praise, and that's when we got Judah, which means praise, which in the midst of COVID, I think we all need to praise our way out of this. And so, but it had us questioning, God, what is this Zoe thing? This name, it's just been so heavily laden on us for all these years. why is it still present, And so then in that moment where we're figuring out, like, and praying and talking and what are we calling this thing, the truck suddenly had Zoe Global on it, and it just kept on driving, and so yeah. So that's the ministries part. And then just further down the track, it was just the revelation that here we are approaching other businesses, to see if they'll partner with us to do what we want to do in developing nations. And I'm a speech pathologist, and Adam's always been nagging me to start your own place, babe. And I'm like, no, I don't want to. But suddenly, again, it was like the right order of things. And I just had this picture of, teams of people going and going into the nations that we want to work in with Zoe Global, and actually going in there and working with the communities and the people to help them with whatever allied health or medical need that they have, that we could build up teams of people and doctors and get all of their current staff and just build up their capacity. And in the meantime, learn so much from them that will enrich our life back here. So yeah, so that's where we're at.
Amazing. And I feel like I've got quite a few questions I want to ask you. I'd love to go back to that 2 years where you said you didn't have really a vision for what God had for you. And can you kind of, I guess, share, how did you hold the hope, knowing that God has something for you, yet not seeing it?
Yeah, it was really hard at times. Hey, like, and it was a real, as a whole family, we really went through just this tough thing of when your dream shuts down, or when a job shuts down, or, the thing that you've been working towards for so long, it just closes. Who is it that we do all this for? Who is it that we love? And and are we allowing ourselves to get completely offended and turn our back on God and church and all of that forever? Or are we going to just pursue him and his goodness? Because God doesn't change, and people are people, like, humanity is broken and wonderful and everything, but yeah, it was definitely like, I'll never forget this night. It was a night where it was a real turning point, and God is so good in this moment. He'd put us out on this random farm out in Landsborough, this beautiful place, where it actually had a shack, like from the shack that these people had built their own shack, and so every morning we would wake up and we would see the sun coming up over the farm, and and I just discovered the Passion Translation, and so I had, the Psalms, and there was this one Psalm, and it says, I'm taking you where you have not been before. Don't be stubborn, just follow me. And even now, it just because it just that's everything. Like, that's all we have to do, right? Like, just keep following. Like, we don't know where Jesus is leading us. We don't know what amazing things he's leading us to, but despite the brokenness, and he promises that, like, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I am with you. And I remember this night where I put the kids down. I could feel it welling up in me all day, like this feeling of hopelessness, and just, what, God, like, that was everything, and I put the kids down. I got a little, the Bluetooth speaker, put it in the middle of the lounge room, put the worship on, and I just got on my knees and I just cried, and I just and just probably spent most of the night there. And after that, it was like, okay, God. But it was that whole letting go process, and through people, we just kept ourselves in the right room, I suppose. Like, and God's so good, he's so faithful. We're at a barbecue, and one of our pastors now, he happened to be there, and he just spoke to us, and he just said, you keep serving and you keep just sweeping outside that door, and you're just letting people, I'm still here, God, I'm still here, God, like, and you just keep serving and keep loving and keep your heart right. And so I think just being around the right people, especially through those transition times, that's important.
Yeah, that sounds really key. And I know
Mm.
that because I've, through running the retreats, I meet lots of women who are like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know what my dream is. And there's almost like this feeling that you're not in his will if you're not, if you don't know the purpose. It's not actually true. It's that waiting, just being diligent, allowing whatever he's doing in our hearts and in the world, ready for that download and that aha moment of, I think this is what God's calling me into.
Yes, definitely. I had that as a young adult. Once I got saved, I thought it was this, this trapeze line that you had to walk on to be in God's will, and so for so long I was just so perplexed by that question, and it really was disabling. Like, you just don't do anything because I don't know what the right thing to do is. If instead, I think if we let this younger generation know, and just new Christian, like all of us, keep encouraging one another that you're on your way. I think, Joyce Meyer says, I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way. And I think that's always been a good one for me, the perfectionist who's like, it's okay, like, I'm following in Jesus's footsteps and he will let me know. That's the other thing. Like, he is my loving, beautiful, wonderful father. Like any human father, he'll let me know if I'm getting off track or, so just relaxing and resting in God a bit more, I think, and just trusting that he's going to show the way and at the right time. And that's certainly what I've learned. And it's so good because now I'm applying it to everything that we do with the business and with global. It's like, God's done it before. His timing is perfect. So I don't need to rush. I don't need to stress. I see the vision. I'm not there yet, but I see the vision. So God's like, it's on the way, Yeah.
Yeah. And that's so true. The whole trusting him that he will speak to us and he'll let us know. And and we don't, if maybe we don't quite pick it up, he'll just keep telling us and keep confirming and keep confirming.
Right.
And like you said, he's such a good father. So Lauren, I would love to know, okay, so you're starting to get this, I think there's something here, and you're having discussions with your husband. Did you both kind of have the revelation at the same time, or what happened there?
It was like, there's been a few points in our marriage where that whole thing of two becoming one, I've seen it, and it's like, oh, that's what God meant by that, where we've been at completely different camps, and gone into meetings, and I've expected him to say something like completely different, and he's expected me, and we've both gone into a meeting and said, yep, this is what we both want, and actually it's been and it didn't make sense, and this was the same, I guess. And I suppose being in COVID together, it's like you're talking it through, but it definitely the shift just started to happen at the same time, and the timing around it all seemed pretty perfect. And, as soon as I saw that truck, Adam was having these revelations about like the different projects that we'd do and the scriptures that would be our key scriptures, and the breakdown of that. And, he's like, this is what the website will look like. And, so it was cool. It was, because obviously, that's what we wanted. Like, it's a bit too big for either one of us to carry on our own. So it's been nice.
And so was there, as you're starting to have, it's taking shape, was there a defining moment of let's begin now, or was it just kind of,
like I'm a planner, and so, and my gift, one of my gifts is admin, but too much sometimes. And so we went into planning mode, and we did try to then catch up with people who to speak into the idea. And most it's a bit tricky because most people are like, don't do that. Why would you do that? Why don't you go do this over there? Or, this won't work because of A, B, C, D. And so those moments are good because they're testing you, and they'll help you figure out your why and figure out whether it's strong enough to to move anything forward. But yeah, we put together, because we knew we wanted to go because some people said, well, why don't you start small? And we're like, we know, we've seen what this can be. Like, we've seen God's mind on this. And so we didn't want to just start small. We wanted to at least set up the foundations right for growth, and for strength. So we went in, so that we then went into having to, ask board members and set up a board and all this kind of stuff. And so with that came business plans and goal setting and all this policies and all this, which is all necessary and wonderful. But I was very happy when all that was done and we could finally go, okay, what are we doing? Where are the projects? Where are the people? So yeah, that was, we just started pretty well straight away. We just started the ball rolling because we knew as well, we know each other, and we know we've set I think one of the things that God had used to get us to that revelation point was every year we sit down and we make these goals, and we've seen God do amazing things, but one goal we always set every year is to start some kind of organization that does these things. And we were just, the start of that year, we were actually in a caravan and we were sitting there doing our goals, and we were both like so frustrated. We were just, I don't even want to write this down because we never do it. So let's just not even write it down, but we both knew like this is the dream of our heart. We feel like this is the call on our life. So we started straight away because we knew we don't want to waste time on this. God's spoken, let's go. Yeah.
And you can feel when there's go to kind of, and now's the time, particularly when it's clearly been bubbling in your heart for actually many years. It's not like a new concept. It's just, there's that, the doors are open. It's time to run. It's time to go. So I would love to know, Lauren, I want to hear two sides of it, but first I'll ask, what was the toughest thing about stepping into this dream?
Yeah, definitely. Like my family, everyone in my family has been career people. They've been amazing at working in jobs and working up the ladder and getting promoted, and so for me, I felt like I'm working against that grain, and I don't know what that looks like, and that's terrifying. And Adam's really high risk, so he will happily just go. And so if not for me, he probably would have already, and so many times along the way, you talk about the vision refining, there was so many times where we said, okay, we'll go back to YWAM, or we'll go to Africa, and this is what we'll do. And it just was never the right timing, and we just knew that we didn't have peace, and so kept tracking on this track. But I am more though, I'm not risk averse, I am measured. So I will happily take risk once I've figured out that this could pay off. It might not, but it could. And so, we're a bit at times. And so that's probably been the hardest part, is just me stepping beyond my own mindset into the unknown, giving up a paid good job and stepping out on my own, and making people have to pay money for things when I would happily give it all away for free if I could. So just constantly pushing against my own boundaries and barriers to step into the unknown, step against my people pleasing traits. That would be some of my harder things.
I think we can all relate to that. And we all have kind of mindsets that will stop us from expanding, but it takes courage to kind of look at them and go, okay, God, what mindsets do I have that need
Yeah.
shifting? And they can
Yes.
almost make you feel physically sick when when there's this shifting and the changing going against the mindsets and the
Yeah.
habits that we've ingrained. So I just think
Yes.
you are so brave.
Oh, thank you.
Now flip side, what has been like, what's wonderful about walking
Mm.
the dream?
As scary as all those things were, that feeling of finally stepping out in faith, building something towards what we know is the God call on our life, that has been exhilarating, and just seeing God move. So as hard as like some people were when we caught up, um, but on the other side, there was so many moments where we'd talk to someone and they would mention a name, and then we'd talk to someone else and they would mention that same name, and then that person becomes the guy who sets up the whole company or whatever, like we just saw God intervene at so many amazing spots. And even with Allied, with the business side, his timing's just been perfect. Like when we needed Medicare numbers and different things, little details, they just always came in at the right time. And I think a super exciting part now is we've really got a team around us, and that we love team, and we love like doing stuff with people is so much more fun than doing it on your own. So that has been, I've just been in awe of who God has drawn around us right now, and their gifts and talents. We hired them for XYZ, but actually they're also brilliant at ABC. And so it's been that's been amazing. And just to see their joy and their fulfillment of being part of the team is obviously rewarding. But that's been cool. So yeah.
Amazing. And it sounds like we have to give God room to move, right?
Yes.
And when we take those big leaps of faith, like what you have done, and gone like, well, we can't do it, and there's all this room that you need to feel God and all the details, and he does.
Yeah.
Doesn't it just build your faith for what the next thing is, and the big scary thing that asked you to do? Because I know this is just the beginning for you guys, really, in like the extent of what God has over you and your husband and the team. So it's so exciting, Lauren.
Thank you, Lisa.
How can people follow you, find out more,
Yeah. Amazing. So we're all on Instagram, Lauren Kevu, and you'll see the Insta handles as well for Zoe Allied Health and Zoe Global. But also, Zoe Global Ministries and Zoe Allied Health are our two arms, the mission field and the marketplace. So and bringing life wherever we go, because that's what Zoe means. That's the goal, that whatever we do, whatever our hands touch to do, that we bring life and joy and vitality. So that's our plan.
Well, I can say from knowing you personally that you do that, so I know that it would ooze into all that you do. And I'm definitely cheering you guys on. I think you're extraordinary. So thank you for sharing your heart today.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for being an encourager to all of us and to leading the way. It's we're doing this together, and we're so grateful for you.
Thank you, my friend. Mwah. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for joining me on Brave with Lisa. I hope that it has inspired or impacted you in a small or large way. Feel free to comment, to subscribe, and share with some friends. And please join us next week on another conversation we will have here on this channel on Brave with Lisa.